Far, far away, past the whispering waterfalls, beyond the rainbow forest, and up, up, up into the tallest purple mountains in all the magical land, there lived a dragon. But this was no ordinary dragon. His name was Loomis, and he had scales the color of midnight blue mixed with deep purple, shimmering like 1,000 tiny diamonds whenever moonlight touched them. His eyes were soft and golden, round and warm like two little suns. His wings, folded neatly against his back, were transparent at the edges, and if you looked very carefully, you could see glittering stars trapped inside them, winking and twinkling with every breath he took. Loomis did not breathe fire like most dragons. Oh no. When Loomis opened his mouth and exhaled gently, out came something far more extraordinary, a soft, shimmering cloud of golden and violet light, filled with tiny sparkling shapes, stars, moons, clouds, little animals, and swirling galaxies. These were dream sparks. And dream sparks, as everyone in the magical land knew, were the seeds from which beautiful dreams were made. Every child in this world deserves a wonderful dream tonight, Loomis would whisper to himself every evening as the sun went down, stretching his wings wide. And I, Loomis the Dream Dragon, will make sure they get one. Every single night, without fail, Loomis would leap from his mountaintop cave, which was decorated inside with glowing crystals and soft moss and thousands of dream jars on every shelf, and fly silently through the sky. He glided above sleeping villages and cozy little houses, past chimneys puffing soft smoke, past gardens where flowers folded their petals for the night, and over rivers that shimmered silver under the moon. Wherever he flew, he gently blew his dream sparks through open windows and down chimneys, and those sparks would float softly down onto sleeping children and bloom into the most wonderful dreams imaginable. One child might dream of flying through cotton candy clouds on the back of a friendly whale. Another might dream of discovering a secret library where every book was an adventure waiting to begin. Another might dream of a meadow where all the flowers could talk and sing silly songs. Every morning, the children of the land would wake up smiling, stretching, and blinking with delight, their hearts still warm from the beautiful journey their sleeping minds had taken. They didn't know where their wonderful dreams came from, but deep in the purple mountains, a certain small dragon with golden eyes would curl up happily in his crystal cave and smile too, knowing he had done his most important job. Crescent Moon Loomis had been the guardian of dreams for 300 years, and not a single night had he ever missed. Crescent Moon. But on one particular evening, a Tuesday, in fact, something strange was beginning to stir in the world. Far to the east, where the sky met a dark and jagged cliff called the Edge of Forgotten Things, a shadow was slowly waking up. Something cold. Something that hated warmth, and light, and laughter. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time and was now, at last, opening its terrible eyes. Loomis felt it as he prepared to launch himself into the sky that night. A strange chill on the wind. A flicker of something wrong in the air. He paused at the edge of his mountaintop, golden eyes narrowing, his dream sparks swirling nervously around him. Hum, he murmured softly, his tail curling with unease. Something is not right tonight. Something in the world has changed. But children were waiting. Dreams needed to be delivered. And so, like the faithful guardian he was, Loomis spread his wings, took a deep breath of cool mountain air, and leapt bravely into the starlit sky, flying straight toward whatever the night had in store. In the cozy little village of Moonberry, at the end of Cloverleaf Lane, in a small blue house with yellow window boxes full of sleepy flowers, there lived a girl named Zara. Zara was 7 years old, with thick black curls that bounced when she ran, enormous dark brown eyes that noticed everything, and a laugh that sounded like a small waterfall, bubbly and bright and impossible not to smile at. She loved collecting smooth pebbles from the river, drawing maps of imaginary kingdoms, and talking to the neighborhood cat, Mr. Biscuit, who was orange and very opinionated. But lately, something was very wrong with Zara. Every morning for the past 2 weeks, she had woken up with a heavy, foggy feeling, as though her head was wrapped in damp cotton wool. Her eyes, usually so sparkly, looked tired and flat. Her bounce was gone. Her laugh had gone quiet. "Did you have nice dreams, sweetheart?" her mother asked at breakfast, placing a warm bowl of porridge with a swirl of honey in front of her. "No, Mama," Zara said, poking at her porridge sadly. "I didn't have any dreams at all. Just darkness. Nothing. It's like someone turned all the lights off in my sleep." Her mother stroked her curls, looking worried. This had been going on for 14 mornings in a row. Other children on the street looked the same, droopy and grey-faced, dragging their feet on the way to school, forgetting to play at recess, staring at the sky with confused, sad eyes. The dreams had stopped. All across Moonberry Village, and indeed across many, many villages and towns, not a single child had dreamed in 2 whole weeks. And the absence of dreams, those wonderful nighttime adventures that made children feel brave and joyful and creative, was making everyone slowly, quietly sadder with every passing day. Only Zara noticed something that nobody else did. On the night the dream stopped, she had been half awake, that magical in-between state where you're not quite asleep but not quite awake either. And through her window, she had seen something extraordinary, a dark shape, enormous and swirling, moving across the moon. It had blocked the moonlight for just a moment, and in that moment, the sky had seemed to go cold and wrong, like when you open a refrigerator door on a warm day. Something took the dreams, she whispered to Mr. Biscuit that evening, sitting on the windowsill while the cat washed his ears. Something came in the night and stole them all. Mr. Biscuit blinked slowly, which Zara knew was his way of saying he agreed completely. Zara made a decision. She couldn't just sit here being sad and dream less forever. She was going to find out what had happened. She was going to fix it. She didn't know how yet, she was only 7, after all, but she had read enough adventure books to know that when something was wrong in the world, the thing to do was to be brave and start walking toward the problem. She packed a small backpack, 1 flashlight, 3 oat biscuits, her favorite smooth blue pebble, for luck, her map-drawing notebook, and a spare pair of socks. Her grandmother always said spare socks were essential on any adventure. She pulled on her warmest sweater, the purple one with the moons on the sleeves, and slipped quietly out the back door into the night. Glowing star, she didn't know that high above, flying fast through the dark sky, a certain dragon with golden eyes was already flying toward her. Glowing star. Zara walked to the edge of the village where the cobblestones gave way to soft grass, and she stood there looking up at the stars. The sky felt different lately, slightly darker, slightly colder, as though something had dimmed the stars by just a tiny amount. She wrapped her arms around herself and took a deep breath. "Okay," she said, very quietly but very firmly, to the night sky. "I'm here. And I'm not going home until the dreams come back." A moment later, the grass near her feet began to shimmer with a soft golden light, and something large and wonderful and absolutely unexpected landed silently in the field, 20 steps in front of her. Zara stood perfectly still. Her flashlight was on, but the creature in front of her was already glowing with its own soft light, a beautiful purple-blue shimmer that pulsed gently, like a lighthouse seen through fog. The dragon was smaller than she'd imagined dragons to be, about the size of a very large horse, but rounder, softer-looking, with scales that seemed to glow from the inside. His wings were folded against his back, and where the moonlight touched their edges, little trapped stars twinkled. His golden eyes looked at her with warmth and intelligence, and something else. Worry. "Hello," said the dragon, in a voice like a deep, soft bell. "My name is Loomis. Are you Zara?" Zara blinked. She was surprised, certainly. But she was also, she realized, not frightened at all. There was something about this creature that made her feel immediately safe, like being wrapped in a warm blanket on a rainy day. "Yes," she said. "I am Zara. How do you know my name?" "Because," said Loomis, settling back on his haunches and looking at her very seriously, "I have been delivering your dreams for 7 years. I know the name of every child whose dreams I guard. And lately," his golden eyes grew sad, "I haven't been able to deliver any dreams at all." Zara felt a rush of understanding. "You're the one who makes the dreams," she breathed. "I knew something had stolen them. I knew it wasn't normal." "You were the only child who came outside to look for answers," Loomis said softly, and he sounded genuinely moved. "All the others are sad and confused, but they went back to sleep. You came out here. That tells me something very important about you, Zara." "What does it tell you?" she asked. "That you are the kind of person who does something when things go wrong. That is the rarest and most wonderful kind of person there is." Zara felt her cheeks go warm. She sat down cross-legged in the dewy grass, and Loomis lowered himself down too, so they were at eye level. He told her everything. About being the dream guardian for 300 years. About the dream sparks and the crystal cave in the Purple Mountains. About the night he had felt something wrong, a dark chill on the wind, a shadow moving against the stars. "His name," Loomis said quietly, "is the Nightmare King. He is a creature of pure shadow and fear. Long ago, he was banished to the furthest corner of the world, a place called the Void of Forgotten Darkness, because he had been stealing dreams and replacing them with nightmares. But his prison had a weakness. If children stopped believing in beautiful things for long enough, his chains would grow weak. And then he could break free. And now he's free. Zara said. He has broken free, Loomis confirmed, his tail twitching with agitation. He has built himself a fortress in the dream world, the magical realm that exists between sleep and waking, where all dreams are born. He is sitting in the very heart of it, blocking all dream sparks from reaching children. He is drinking up the good dreams like a sponge drinking water, and replacing them with grey emptiness. Zara was quiet for a moment, thinking hard. Mr. Biscuit had not come with her, but she wished he had. She always thought better with a cat nearby. Then we have to go into the dream world, she said finally. And we have to stop him. Loomis looked at her for a long moment. Then his mouth curved into something that was, unmistakably, a dragon smile. I was hoping you would say that, he said. I cannot enter the dream world alone. The Nightmare King has too much power for a single guardian. But a dream guardian and a brave-hearted child together? That is a different story entirely. He extended one of his large, warm paws. Will you come with me, Zara? It will be dangerous. It will be strange. But if we succeed, every child in the world will dream again. Zara looked at his paw, which was 3 times the size of her hand, and warm as a hearthstone, and she placed her small hand on top of it. Dragon, let's go save the dreams, she said. And so their adventure truly began. Dragon. Getting to the dream world required something very special. Loomis explained it as he and Zara stood in the moonlit field, his golden eyes twinkling with a mix of excitement and seriousness. The dream world exists in the space between heartbeats, he said. To enter it, you must believe in something with your whole heart, not just a little, but completely. The way you believe the sun will rise, or the way you believe someone who loves you will come when you call. What should I believe in? Zara asked. In this adventure, Loomis said simply. In me. In yourself. In the idea that 2 small, brave beings can change something enormous. Close your eyes and feel it, really feel it, and the door will open. Zara closed her eyes. She thought about her grandmother's hands, warm and wrinkled, braiding her hair. She thought about the way light came through the window in the morning, making squares of gold on the floor. She thought about Mr. Biscuit purring. She thought about the wonderful dreams she used to have, flying over purple oceans, diving through clouds like a fish through water, discovering entire worlds in a single grain of sand. And she thought about Loomis, this gentle, ancient, extraordinary creature who had been quietly, secretly caring for all the sleeping children of the world for 300 years, never asking for thanks, never asking to be known, just spreading beauty and wonder in the dark of every night. She believed. Completely. With her whole small heart. She felt it happen, a warm rush of light behind her closed eyelids, a sensation like stepping through a warm waterfall, and the sound of something enormous and beautiful opening, like the world itself taking a breath and sighing yes. She opened her eyes. She was somewhere entirely different, and it was more beautiful than anything she had ever seen, dreamed, imagined, or read about in her best books. The dream world was a vast, floating landscape made entirely of light and wonder. The sky, if you could call it a sky, was deep violet, filled with slowly drifting clouds in every possible color. Pink, gold, green, silver, cerulean blue. Between the clouds, enormous glowing bubbles drifted past, and inside each bubble was a dream. She could see them, tiny and perfect, like snow globes. A child swimming with whales, a child conducting an orchestra made of flowers, a child discovering a door in the roots of a tree that led to a tiny underground kingdom. Or at least, those were the dreams that had been. Because now, Zara could see, the bubbles were going dark one by one, their light dimming, their contents dissolving into grey fog. The color was draining out of the dream world, from one side, as though something was eating it. In the distance, far, far off, where the violet sky turned black and cold, she could see it. A fortress of shadow. Black towers twisting up like grasping fingers. No windows. No light. Only darkness, and from it, a cold that reached across the entire dream world like a long, terrible hand. The Nightmare King's fortress, Loomis said grimly beside her. He was luminous in this world, brighter, more vivid, his scales blazing with color, his golden eyes fierce and sure. He is in there. And so are all the stolen dreams. He's eating them, Zara whispered, watching another beautiful dream bubble go dark and grey. He's eating them up. Yes. We must reach the heart of his fortress before they are all gone. Once the last dream is consumed, the dream world collapses entirely, and children may never dream again. Purple Heart, then we run, said Zara. And she grabbed Loomis's paw, and they ran together across the floating landscape of light and fading wonder. Purple Heart. As they ran, the dream world tried to slow them down, not on purpose, but because that is the nature of a place built from imagination. The ground was soft as cloud and sometimes bounced them up into the air. Rivers of liquid gold flowed across their path, which they had to leap over. Trees made of crystal chimed with music as they brushed past them. Once, an enormous friendly whale drifted past overhead, blinking a sleepy eye at them and leaving a trail of floating stars in its wake. Even in the urgency and danger of it all, even with the Nightmare King's fortress growing larger and colder ahead of them, Zara felt something she hadn't felt in 2 weeks, a flutter of pure, uncomplicated joy. She was here, in the most magical place that had ever existed. And she was not afraid. She tightened her grip on Loomis's warm paw, and they pressed on into the darkening heart of the dream world. The Nightmare King's fortress was everything warm and joyful was not. Its walls were made of hardened shadow, not stone, but solidified darkness, cold to the touch and humming with a low, miserable sound, like the world's saddest song played on the world's most out-of-tune instrument. The gate was a giant arch of twisted black thorns, and above the arch, carved into the shadow stone in deep, jagged letters, were the words, "Here joy ends." "Cheerful decorator," Zara muttered, hands on her hips, staring up at it. Beside her, Loomis chuckled softly, a warm sound, like a coal shifting in a fireplace. His light was burning brighter here, as though in response to all the surrounding darkness. Dream sparks swirled anxiously around him, seeking comfort in his glow. Getting inside was surprisingly easy, perhaps too easy. The gate swung open at a touch, and Zara got the feeling the Nightmare King wanted them to come in. That he wanted to show off. That was the thing about creatures of darkness and fear she had read in her adventure books. They were always, underneath everything, incredibly proud of themselves, and they could never resist an audience. Inside the fortress, the corridors were lined with glass cases, and inside each case floated a captured dream bubble, dimmed and grey now, but still recognizable. Zara could see faint shapes inside them. A girl on a bicycle made of butterflies. A boy conducting a thunderstorm like an orchestra. A tiny girl planting a seed and watching an entire garden grow in 5 seconds. Flowers bursting into color like fireworks. "Those are all real children's dreams," Loomis said, his voice low with fury and grief. "He has stolen them and caged them. They are still alive, just barely, but slowly fading." Zara pressed her hand against one of the glass cases. Inside, a small dream bubble flickered. She felt something, a warmth, thin as a candle flame in a strong wind, but alive. "Hold on," she whispered to it. "We are here." They found the Nightmare King in the central chamber, the great black heart of the fortress. He was enormous. He was made entirely of swirling darkness, with 2 terrible red eyes burning in the center of the shadow mass, and a voice like cold water dripping into a deep well. "A dragon," he said, and his voice echoed oddly, as though it was speaking in an empty room that was too large. "And a child. How unexpectedly small." "Give back the dreams," Loomis said. His voice was steady and clear, like a bell. "They are not yours." "Everything in darkness belongs to me," the Nightmare King said, and the shadows around him pulsed. "I have been hungry for 300 years, little dragon. And now I have found the feast I was waiting for. Sweet, sweet dreams, so full of hope and warmth. I have eaten many already, and they have made me strong." He surged forward. The temperature in the chamber dropped 20 degrees in an instant. The dream sparks around Loomis scattered in terror. Zara felt the cold hit her like a wall, a cold that wasn't just temperature, but something else, something that whispered, "Nothing is worth trying. Everything ends in sadness. Go home. Give up." She felt it in her bones. That cold, hollow, hopeless feeling. Her knees wobbled. Her hands went numb. The flashlight in her backpack flickered. For one terrible second, she felt like she couldn't remember a single happy thing that had ever happened to her. But then, she did remember. She remembered her grandmother's hands. She remembered Mr. Biscuit purring. She remembered the dream she used to have, flying over purple oceans, and the feeling of waking up from a wonderful dream and knowing, just for a moment, that absolutely everything was possible. "No," she said. Very quietly. Very firmly. No. The coldness pushed harder. The whispering got louder. You are just a small child. You can't do anything. You can't change anything. I said no. Zara shouted, and something extraordinary happened. Her voice rang through the chamber like a bell, and where it rang, the shadows shrank back. Just a little. Just enough. And in that space of retreating darkness, Loomis breathed, a great, shuddering breath, and from his mouth poured the most enormous cloud of dream sparks she had ever seen. Gold and violet and silver and blue, tumbling and blazing, filling the chamber with warmth and color and light. High voltage sign, the Nightmare King screamed, a sound like glass shattering in reverse, and the battle for all the dreams in the world truly began. High voltage. What Loomis and Zara did next was not done with swords, or weapons, or magic spells written in ancient books. It was done with something the Nightmare King had completely forgotten existed, because darkness, by its very nature, cannot understand light. They told stories. It began almost by accident. As Loomis's dream sparks blazed through the chamber, Zara found herself remembering, out loud, without even meaning to, the best dream she had ever had. The one where she had ridden on the back of a cloud shaped like a dog and bounced between lightning bolts. The one where the ocean was made of warm lemonade and the fish could talk. The one where she had found a tiny door in the garden wall that led to a world exactly like her own, except everything was upside down and the sky was green and everyone wore hats shaped like teapots. As she spoke, Loomis's dream sparks danced to the sound of her voice, swirling and forming shapes from her words. The cloud dog, the lemonade fish, the teapot hats, and the shapes glowed and grew, filling the dark chamber with warmth and color. And then Loomis began to speak too. 300 years of dreams. 300 years of the most wonderful things that sleeping children's minds had ever imagined, delivered faithfully night after night. He described them all, quietly, joyfully, gratefully, each one a small universe of happiness that a child had lived in for a few precious sleeping hours. The Nightmare King writhed. He pushed his cold and his whispers. But there was too much warmth, too much color, too much story. The cold crept back. The shadows thinned. And then something extraordinary happened. The glass cases holding the stolen dream bubbles began to crack. Not from force, from light. The warmth that Loomis and Zara had filled the chamber with was seeping into the cases, finding every crack, and the dream bubbles inside were waking up, brightening, pushing outward from within. One by one, with sounds like small bells ringing, the cases shattered, and out tumbled the dreams, blazing back to full color, rising and swirling and gathering above Loomis and Zara like a flock of luminous birds returning home. "No," the Nightmare King roared. "They are mine. I have eaten them. They belong to darkness." "Nothing that is loved truly belongs to darkness," Loomis said, and his voice was enormous in that moment, resonant and ancient and completely certain. "These dreams are made of children's hearts. And children's hearts are stronger than any shadow ever born." The Nightmare King lunged, a wall of cold blackness, massive and terrible, rushing toward them like a storm. Zara grabbed her pebble from her backpack, her blue pebble, her lucky pebble, smooth from 100 days of holding, and she threw it. It was a pebble. Just a small, smooth, ordinary river pebble. But Zara believed in it completely, the way you believe in the most important things, and when it hit the Nightmare King's shadow mass, it flashed with a light so bright it was like a miniature sun. The darkness shrieked and recoiled, breaking apart at the edges. Loomis exhaled, one great, magnificent breath, and from his mouth came a torrent of dream sparks so vast it filled the entire fortress from floor to ceiling, every corner, every crack, blazing gold and violet and silver until there was not a single shadow left anywhere. The Nightmare King came apart. Not with violence, but the way a bad dream comes apart when you wake up properly, dissolving into nothing, leaving no trace, the terror of it already fading as the light grew. He was gone. Just gone. And the fortress around them began to shimmer and dissolve too, the shadow walls crumbling, the twisted spires collapsing into sparkles, until Loomis and Zara were standing not in a dark fortress but in an open, blazing, beautiful space with the dream world spreading around them in every direction. Brighter than ever, colors richer, sky deeper, clouds pinker, rivers more golden than before. Above them, thousands of dream bubbles rose into the violet sky, each one blazing, each one full, and as they rose, they spread across the dream world like sparks from a fire, scattering toward every corner, seeking their way back to the sleeping children of the world who were waiting for them. Rainbow, the dreams were free. Every last one. And the world, at last, began to dream again. Rainbow. Loomis and Zara stood in the golden light and watched the dreams go. Loomis was crying, which, for a dragon, meant 2 perfect golden tears rolling slowly down his luminous scales. 300 years, he said softly, and this is the first time I have ever had help. Thank you, Zara. Zara hugged him, which required climbing somewhat, because she only came up to his shoulder, and he wrapped one large, warm wing around her, and for a moment they just stood there, surrounded by the returning light, while the dream world healed itself around them. Going back was like waking from a dream, a warm, slow surfacing, the dream world fading gently the way sunrise fades the stars. Zara opened her eyes in the dark field outside Moonberry Village, the dew cold on her knees, the real stars overhead, her blue pebble back in her hand. It had returned with her, which she thought was very kind of the dream world. Loomis stood before her, smaller and less blazing in the ordinary world, but just as warm, just as golden-eyed, just as real and wonderful. Will they remember their dreams in the morning? Zara asked. Only as feelings, he said. Warm ones. The kind that stay with you all day without knowing why. He tilted his head. But you will remember everything. Dream guardians always do. You are now, Loomis said. He blew a single dream spark toward her, tiny and golden, shaped like a tiny dragon in flight, and it touched her hand and melted into her skin with a warmth she could feel in her bones. Whenever dreams are in danger, you will feel it. And I will find you. He spread his wings. But tonight, go home. Sleep. And dream the very best dream of all. He leapt into the sky, rising fast and silent, becoming smaller and more star-like until she couldn't tell him apart from the actual stars. Which, she suspected, was rather the point. Zara walked home through the dew-wet grass, climbed through the back door, pulled off her muddy shoes, went upstairs, and slipped into bed without waking anyone. She was asleep in 30 seconds. And that night, and every night from then on, across every village, city, and country in the world, children dreamed again. The most wonderful dreams. Of flying and discovering and singing and diving and exploring and laughing and finding doors in unexpected places and riding impossible creatures and planting magical gardens and conducting thunderstorms and swimming with talking fish and bouncing on lightning bolts and discovering kingdoms in the roots of trees. In the morning, none of them could say exactly what they dreamed. But they all woke up smiling. Every single one. Dragon and in the Purple Mountains, in a crystal cave full of glowing jars and soft moss and 1,000 twinkling lights, a small dragon with golden eyes curled up happily and smiled his dragon smile, knowing, as he always had, that the most important work in all the world is the work that keeps the light alive while everyone is sleeping. Crescent moons sparkles.